Hello, everybody, and welcome to Silent Sequester. I am your host, Isaiah Goins, and I'm here with Spencer. Spencer, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Isaiah. This is so much fun being on here. So good getting to catch up with you. It's been a while, and I'm looking forward to talking some Sequester.
No doubt. Just to get your initial thoughts. So, you're out the house now. Like, how do you feel? You watched everything.
Mm-hmm.
You saw everybody's reaction out in the house, outside the house. The audience reception. You can speak on anything. How was it?
It was great. It was a really fantastic experience. The reaction was, eh, at the end of the day, the reaction was very, very positive. I felt so much love from a lot of people and, people recognizing the growth that I made as a person, as a game player. That meant a lot to me. And it's been surreal. It's been surreal.
No doubt. So before we even get to like the game side of things,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming there were some people, probably confessional wise, that you were just like, oh shoot, like I didn't like expect this person to either be that good of a gameplay, or maybe this person didn't have this sort of like thoughts of me, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe just like you were just like shocked on some things or anything. Like, do you
Yeah.
want to talk about that? Like, is there any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a couple that I like, very, very like prominent instances for me. So Josh is example number one. Josh, I did not expect him to have so much going on behind the scenes. Bless you. I did not expect him to have so much going on behind the scenes, but he was really like wheeling and dealing. Like those gears were turning in his head 24/7, and we just didn't see it. Like as a player in the game, I didn't see it. I don't think everybody else saw it, and so that's why I think it would have been, very interesting to see what would have happened if he had made it to a final two, whether it was against me, whether it was against Billy. Like, I think it would have been really, really interesting to see what Josh could have pulled out of his bag of tricks.
Okay. Let's just deep into the game,
Well,
right?
and then I do want to say,
Oh, go.
I do want to say another one based on confessionals. I was shocked. I was shocked to see how much Jacob Jones, that Snake Jacob Jones, wasn't actually working with me the whole time like I thought he was. I was so convinced. I was like, okay, he voted for me that one time, but like it's all good. But I was convinced that I was like, he didn't want to vote for Brent. He and Brent are super close. Like, I get it. But then I was like, yeah, we're super close. Like, we're boys. Nothing's ever gonna break us apart. And meanwhile, Jacob's like, he keeps coming back to me. I don't know why. Like, I'll just keep on lying to him. And I was like, oh no, he played me. He played me so good. And like, he had that ability to play me like that. And then another one was freaking Brendan. Man, oh, I got egg on my face from that relationship. Like,
Oh yeah.
because the bizarre, like, so when I went into those two battle matches back to back, with where I got to drag somebody in, I everybody in the Twitter comments, everybody was texting me saying, "You idiot! Why didn't you drag Brendan in?" Right? And it makes so much sense to drag Brendan as a viewer. Even me, I'm like, I should have dragged Brendan. But I had no idea that any of that was going on. I had no idea how much he was dogging on me in his confessionals. I had no idea how much he was just like, yeah, sure, final two, whatever, you jabroni. Like, I had no idea that any of that was going on because he was doing such a great job, like managing our face-to-face relationship, where he was like, dude, we need each other. People are going to look at us as big, like physical threats. Like, we need to keep each other. Like, he was gassing me up like that, to the point where I was like, yeah, okay, sure. Why would he go against me based on what he's saying to me?
Okay. So that actually leads to a question.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, before we even get into that, Jay West said thank you for shouting out his humble pie shit. So there you go. Give that little branding there. So actually I was gonna jump into this later, but might as well now while we're here. So that the connection with Brendan and Jacob, right? I think as you just spoke, you had no idea that they
Mm-hmm.
were even like had that sort of like mentality when it came to like your game or anything.
Yeah.
Um, was it like let's jump into that. Like how in a person did they come off as? Like because did you think that they were like ride or dies, or I don't know, like did they just seem like temporary like partnerships? What?
Jacob came off at the beginning. I was like, he felt like a locked door. It was like I can't do anything in this game if I don't get past this locked door of Jacob Jones. It was like, kind of kiss the ring and like you gotta get Jacob's permission before you win the game of Sequester. Like that's how it felt like. He felt like the godfather of the mob. Like that's really like the energy that he gave off, like that kind of confidence, that kind of charisma. It was really like astonishing. And so that's why, from episode 1, I felt like it was important to secure a relationship with him. Unfortunately, it was a play by him because he wanted to, he was doing it so that he could get safety because he knew that I was going up. But I'm like, yes, this is it. I'm giving him safety. This is perfect. We're gonna be like lockstep for the rest of this game. Like we got each other. As far as Brendan came, I didn't view Brendan as a threat to me in the game. I viewed him as, because the way that he kept on telling me, I'm going to, like, we got to stick together. Final 2. I never viewed him as somebody that was coming after me because I viewed him as somebody who was scared to come after me. I was like, if he thinks that I'm such a physical threat, he's not going to want to go after me in a battle match. So he's never, ever, ever going to want to have the like opportunity for me to call out his vote and have his vote say Spencer, because he's scared to go up against me in a physical battle match. Turns out the only time he does vote for me is when he can't possibly get dragged into a physical battle match. So then date night was an absolute chaotic round, and he was just trying to save his own skin there. He thought I was playing him. So yeah, those 2 relationships were, I was in them for the long haul until like that whole mess with Brendan happened where I accidentally told him to his face that I wanted to vote him out.
So I guess another question would be, so leading into that, I think with their confessionals, I think it was like Josh and Brendan specifically, they made the confessional that like maybe you are afraid to pull in women, and I think we saw that like a lot like expanded upon a little bit with like Shireen and Rachel. And so yeah, I don't know if you want to speak on that, but I think at least to some people as well, when it came to like Muna, for example, like I get it, you guys were like you guys had your thing going on. But I think it was the round where you pulled Muna where some people were almost like, Jacob keeps like cutting like Spencer, and then like, but he keeps cutting Muna. So like, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And what it comes down to for me is what I think is a maneuverable like path in the game, and like finding that maneuverable path. With Muna, like, yes, Jacob did vote for me, but I had built a much better rapport with Jacob than I had with Muna at the time. And that was the first time that I knew of that Jacob had done something not in my best interest. That was the like 3rd or 4th time that Muna had done something that wasn't in my best interest. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. Like I keep on getting, like pushed aside by Muna. Like, how am I ever going to work this? And like, I knew coming into the house that Muna was going to be somebody who was a huge, huge, huge threat to win the game right off the bat. I know that because of her power, like she gives off this like energy when you walk into that house, like, that Muna is there. It's like, you walk into a room and Muna is there. Like she gives off such a like charming, like warm vibe where people are just going to want to like take her further in the game because they like her and they don't want to vote her out. But I'm just like, damn, if I can't get her out of this game, I'm going to be in trouble because I do the opposite of that. I give an abrasive and cold and I'm yelling. So like, I was like, I can't have any of that. So when it came down to that specific vote, I mean, it was very clear to me who I was going to pull into that battle match before I even revealed the votes. The vote reveals were something that I did as a way to gain more information for when I came back into the house. I felt like if let's say I didn't reveal Jacob's vote and I reveal Muna's vote instead, well, then I pull Muna into the battle match, and now that's one less and I win. That's one less person whose vote I know in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like I knew that regardless of whether or not she had voted for me, I was her target. You know, so then when it came to the next round, again, it really comes down to only being able to see what is directly in front of me. And that's where I think this huge disconnect is between my decision and the audience, because I didn't see how much Brendan was actually working to try to get me out of the game. I didn't know how much Brent was barely like defending me, and only defending me to like the smallest degree so that he wouldn't get pulled into a battle match by me. And those are things that I just didn't see. I didn't see. And we only had, 3 votes to try to, like, we only had 3 votes to expose. Jacob exposed Rachel's vote. We exposed Natalie's, and we exposed Shireen's. Shireen had not been working with me. In fact, Shireen had said she was actively avoiding conversation with me in the house because she didn't want me to feel betrayed by her when she ultimately did vote me out. So I was barely having conversation with Shireen. And when it was conversation, it was kind of just like, hey, look, we're not really working together here. I'm going to vote for you this round, but maybe I won't vote for you next round. And so I knew that there was not going to be like a whole lot there. The initial vote to expose, or the initial vote to pick Natalie to bring her into the battle match, was because I felt like I was really between a rock and a hard place. I've got Jacob whispering in my ear that saying like, we've got Marcelo. I just want to take a sec to look like big picture at like every possible person who I could have pulled into that battle match.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob is saying we got Marcelo, so I can't pick him. Then there's, me, Jacob, Rachel, we're standing up there. So that takes out another like 3 people. Brendan has been telling me we're a final 2. We're working together. And, like physical threats. That's another one I can't pick. Josh just voted against Brent the round before. So I'm like, I got Josh in my pocket. Billy, I think, is my closest ally in the whole game. So I can't pick her. And it just really, and then Brent is, he's the only person that ultimately votes for the other pair with me. So I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, the only 2 logical options for me are Natalie and Shireen. Natalie actually voted for Jacob, right? Like she knew that Jacob was my tether. She voted for Jacob. That's basically a vote against me. Like, let me pull her in. And then it was like, once it all started clicking, she was like, it doesn't make any sense. The power structure doesn't change. I was thinking, who's at the top of the power structure? And I viewed it as Shireen was on top of the power structure. She was able to, once the round started, she said, hey, everybody come into the dining room. And everybody went into the dining room except for me and Marcelo. So, ultimately, I think that maybe there was something like in the back of my brain that was saying it's going to be easier to beat a female in a physical competition. So pick a female. But in the front of my brain, I was thinking strategically. And I was thinking, what is going to put me in the best position possible when I return back in the house?
Okay. You answered like 2 questions I had lined up. So thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. But was I clear? Like,
no, yeah. I get what you're saying.
Like, did you guys as a viewer, as like somebody who's doing a pretty good like analysis on the show, like did you feel that Muna and Shireen were in like the biggest positions of power?
So I think it depends on what round you're in, right? I don't think Shireen and Muna had a big position of power long term. I do think a term for specific twists where they had that little voting block that they had with
Right.
Rachel and Billy. That it depends on what the twist is, really.
Mhm.
So like when it comes to things like the killer twist, where Billy has this like group to like rely on, then yes, I can see that. But when it comes to like a general vote, which is actually a question I have for you, the group of those four, was that like a house known group, or was that just like something that just the viewers were like privy to?
So it was not, it didn't feel as close of a four as it did on camera or as it did on the screen. Like I didn't view it as like, okay, there's this huge alliance group of four, like we got to get them out. To me, I knew that Rachel and Shireen were really tight. It was like they hardly ever left each other's side during the rounds. It was like, and that's why I felt it was like kind of difficult for me to secure a bond with either of them. It's because I could never talk to either of them by myself. Like they were always like attached at the hip. So I knew that was a group right there. And then I knew that like Muna was in there with them, and I knew that Billy was in there with them, but I was like, okay, but I'm also in there with Billy. So that's why I always had like, I always felt like I had Billy on my side. So I didn't notice that. And I was like, but Billy's also really good with everybody else. And like, he's also good with a lot of other people in the house. So I was like, maybe it is a group. Maybe it's not as tight as it seems. Maybe like they're good with each other, but they have other allegiances elsewhere. Like I knew Muna was good with Jacob. Eventually I learned that Muna was good with Jacob. And, I knew that Shireen and Josh had a good relationship because of that heel turn that she did on him after saying like, oh, he's looking for LOSs too. Maybe let's not vote for Josh. I knew that there was other allegiances, but I knew that ultimately that was the core. I just didn't know how tight it was.
Okay. So another question was, I know you and Muna eventually locked it back up. We'll get to that in like after this question.
Sure.
But beforehand, and I know you touched up a little bit about this, like you weren't aware of the Jacob and Brendan stuff. But when you did find out that like, all right, like Jacob was like votes towards you, right? What, because you guys had that, you and Muna had that little exchange. We all saw it, obviously. What was like in your mind, like you're okay with like forgiving the Jacob side of things, where like Muna, like their approaches are different. Obviously, like Jacob's more of a like a game player, so like he can apologize, but you never know if that's genuine. Where like Muna's more like an upfront type player, and like you kind of know that she works hard. Just like what was your mindset with that?
My mindset wasn't very different between the two of them. Because the truth of the matter is that I did try the same approach with Muna that I did with Jacob. In round one, when she put me into exile, I was like, don't worry about it. Like, we're all good. It's water under the bridge. Like, we can move forward from here. And then, she voted for me in Killer Detective round two. And after telling me she couldn't vote for Jacob, after telling me she couldn't vote for Natalie because, they had the same state connection, I was just like, okay, that's really, really frustrating, really, really irritating that I could get voted in because you're from the same state as somebody. Like, this sucks. But round three comes along and it's still water under the bridge. Like, let's bury the hatchet. Let's figure something out. Let's work together here. Majority rules. Let's say Josh is going to poison the jury. And then it wasn't Josh. And at that point, I'm like, all right, you know what? Like, I have tried so many times. Like, how am I ever going to make this connection work? And I just like, I couldn't see it anymore. I was like, I must look so stupid to keep on trying to go back to working with Muna. I was like, I can't let myself do it again. I have to put my like head in front of my heart because I wanted so badly to work with her. But in my head, I was just like, I don't feel like this can ever happen in this current game setting.
Okay. So what was it? Oh, go. Did you have something?
No, I was just going to say with Jacob, it was kind of the same way, right? Like he he like casts a vote for me, and then he comes like running to me, basically apologizing, saying like, "Oh my gosh, man, I'm so sorry. Muna was my closest ally." And that's that point where in the tether round, like the ball and chain round, where
Mhm.
Billy comes into the room and is like, "Can I talk to Spencer for a sec?" And Jacob's like, "Hold on." That was the first time I had ever had anybody like push anybody out of a conversation to talk to me. So that to me was like, wow, like I thought that Jacob and Billy were close, but he's pushing her away so that he can talk to me. Like that made me feel more important. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And then it was also the fact that we were tethered together in that ball and chain round. We both got eliminated together. We both had our big like spiel about, everybody eliminating us. Like it bonded us together in a weird way where, maybe if Muna was in that position instead of Jacob, we would have been bonded similarly. But, it was just the situation of the game that made it possible.
Okay. So when Muna did come back and date night, I think that's when you guys like rebonded. What was like the switch that like clicked that made you and her decide that like it's the smartest to like work together?
For me, I felt the switch click because the it was never not there for me. It was never not there for me that I didn't like. I always wanted to work with Muna. Despite everything, I understood and recognized her power in the game and, her ability to get her and her allies further in, because I knew, if you're an ally of Muna, you're pretty safe, because if people are like, she's either going to be running things and keeping you in her corner, or people are going to be coming after her and not you. So I recognize like this is somebody who I really want to work with. But I really had to kind of like see it from her first, because I know how much she wears her heart on her sleeve. Like she couldn't lie to me. She couldn't tell me, she couldn't like lie to me earlier on in the game. She was telling me like, look, I have to put you up in exile. And like I can't vote for Jacob. Sorry, I can't vote for Natalie. All she had to do in those situations was say, "Sure, Spencer, I'll vote for Natalie, or I'll vote for Jacob." And I would have been like, great, I have an ally in me. Or I have an ally in Muna. And once I heard it from her, and once I heard her describe why we needed to work with each other, I was like, either she's like trying to like sell me on something that she doesn't believe in, or she's telling me the truth. And I feel like she's telling me the truth here. Like you could tell like she was being very genuine. And it made sense. I mean, it really did. Like it kept the vote off me for the next 4 rounds. So clearly it was the right decision.
Okay. So I asked this to Josh,
Mm-hmm.
and I will ask you this. You guys, the whole luxury road thing, why wasn't there like a conversation that like you guys could have like all like made this like group or something? Like, did you guys ever talk like off camera about it or anything, or what?
I did have a conversation with Josh on date night about it. But ultimately, like it comes down to the just sheer lack of time that we actually have in these rounds, where maybe it doesn't make sense. Like for me personally, I'm like, okay, I can maybe try to throw like Jacob, Natalie, Josh under the bus, but to have to explain to people who have never even heard of the concept of luxury row what luxury row is. I've been there 3 times. I've been there 3 times. It doesn't make any sense for me to expose that when people are just going to assume that I've been there the most. So I must have an advantage. But yeah, I mean, like I was just trying to survive for like 4 straight rounds. I was like round 3, I didn't know what luxury row was. Round 4, I come back in the house and my name is getting thrown around right away immediately. I can't just go around and be like, luxury row is a thing when I'm 1 vote away from like safety, you know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then the round that Brent leaves, or Brent and I leave, it was just like, I don't know. My brain was completely scrambled there, because I was like, we are screwed. Like this is not the round. Like this is the worst possible scenario for me and Brent to be put up in, because we can't drag anybody. We can't there's no incentive to keep us in, right? Like everybody wants us out of the house. There's no incentive for anyone to keep us. Luxury row was just never on my mind because I didn't have an advantage. I didn't feel like I could work an angle on it. I didn't know who would believe me or who would just say like, you know, he's bluffing. He does have an advantage. Let's get him out instead. I just wanted to keep it a secret as much as I could so that it would not be another layer of like complexity to my game.
Okay. So we saw, I think your highest point, in my opinion, was the date night, because that's when you really understood how to move for like the rest of the game socially. Your low point in my mind was the round where you guys were tethered and you grab everybody, you guys are in the room, and then you tell Brendan to his face, like they're like, who should we take out? Who should we take out? You were like, you. So why? What was you going through your mind during that as well?
Okay, so I have a very clear explanation as to what was going on. If it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But in my brain, what I was thinking was, I need to gather the two. I'm looking at the tethers and I'm saying, who is the most likely pair that I can get a vote on here? And I was like, maybe Brendan and Marcelo. Like they haven't really done anything. They're the only like full tether pair that hasn't been in a battle match yet. Like, let me see what I can do with like trying to get them in there. And you can, if you listen back to the tape, you can hear me say, Josh, Jacob, Natalie, Billy, come into the dining room with me. I did not call Brendan. I did not call Marcelo. I did that on purpose. Brendan, as he should, follows anyway. So I'm giving a pitch as to why it doesn't make sense to vote for me and Brent. And I think the logic behind this pitch makes some sense. I think that what I'm saying is, you know, it's like there's a 1% chance that Brent and I don't get the votes this round. And I think I'm like beginning down the path of 1%. And then I think it was Josh goes, well, then who should we vote for? And I was like, I got to commit to this. I got to commit. Like, there's no way that I can just say, oh, I don't know. You guys should decide. Because I've just given this whole pitch. Like, I know the onus is on me to get the votes off of my ass. And I felt like if I say nothing, then people don't have an incentive to not vote me anyway. What more incentive do they have to not vote me if I'm not even putting out a name? So I look at the room and I see that, well, Brendan's obviously in there, but I'm like, well, I think we should vote for, you know what? Let's just say the truth, Brendan and Marcelo. And I was like, as soon as it came out, I was like, you know, this was not good. Like, this was not a good thing to happen. I wish that I didn't have to do it, but I felt like I was really backed into a corner. And unfortunately, you know, couldn't take that one back. Couldn't pull that one back. And we did see, like, one thing that I saw that was very interesting that I couldn't really tell as much in the house was how, like, unhinged Brendan became from that point on in the game. Like, he was already a little bit on edge from the round prior when Natalie said his name. But man, like when he walked into every single room, it was like they're having a conversation about something completely different. And he's just like, but did you hear that Spencer threw out my name? Like, and to me, that was something that shocked me because I always thought, like, I never thought that he took it as personally, but he really did seem to take it personally that I threw out his name. And like, that was something that blew my mind because I was like, dude, I'm getting my name thrown out from every single direction. You can't take that personally. But I guess when it's your first time, like under the heat, like it is different. Like you saw what happened with me the first time. I walked around the house threatening everybody to pull him into a battle match.
So the battle matches, while you just even end off of that,
sure,
you got pulled in a lot. So mentally, or not even just mentally, just speak on your experience with that. Like, I'm assuming when you have to go back into Sequester, and you can't talk to anyone, like you guys have all said, I'm sure that was just like that's the only thing you can think about, right? Like, you can't talk to anyone, you can't make a resolution with anyone. So it's like, what was going through your mind right now?
I'm sorry, during the battle matches or the times like after I had won the battle matches?
I'm more so More so after.
Okay, so after I was like, damn, this is awesome. Like I'm still coming off like a high from winning the battle matches, because like as much as I love social strategy, like I'm a huge competitor. Like I've been an athlete my entire life. Like I thrive under pressure in situations like that. Like I'm most comfortable in those challenges. And like that's where so I'm just like, hell yeah, I did it. I proved to myself that I can compete under these circumstances and under this kind of pressure. And so then, coming back into the house, waiting before the round starts, I'm kind of thinking like, what do I want to tell these people about the battle matches? What do I want to like talk myself up? Do I want to be humble about it? And I was like, what do I want to do? And ultimately, like after the first couple rounds, people really didn't care all too much about what the battle matches were, because we were just too focused on the game. I know I spoke briefly with Josh and I spoke briefly with Natalie about what the battle matches were. And, the one Natalie B. Cadian is very like, it's easy to see like visually, but it's like impossible to like explain to somebody who has no idea what you're talking about. So like, I just didn't pay much attention to it. I was like, cool, I want a battle match. Like, let's talk strategy now.
So, because your last one was literally before the Final Four. The Final Four drag for everyone seemed like such a stressful round. So going into there, before you explain your final decision, going into it, who were you ideally thinking about going to the end with?
Not Billy. That really just comes down to it. My ideal final two was not Billy. It was something that came over me over a very long time. And I think like winning that fourth battle match, I was just like, as much as I love Billy, like I don't know if I would win against her. Like this jury, like she's the complete opposite of me, and I need somebody who's not the complete opposite of me. Like I need somebody who has been into battle matches, hasn't done as well socially as Billy has. But it sucked so much because I had so much respect for Billy. Like I, always viewed her as my closest ally. And I know it wasn't the same, but like I always viewed that from her. But so my plan was to ask Josh why he gave Billy safety. I wanted him to say it, like, why'd you give Billy safety? Was it to vote her out here, or was it because you want her to sit next to a final two? And if he said to vote her out here, I'm like, great. White, like easy work. Like we can just vote Billy out then. But if he said to sit next to a final two, my first move is, hey, Natalie, we need to vote for, I would have said, this was my like wild big brain play that I was thinking of, which was never actually going to happen. I was like, Natalie, we need to vote for Josh. Because the only way that I can win the game is against not Billy. So I would have said, Josh, Billy, vote for Natalie. Put my ass on the wheel with Billy. Because I don't win against Billy in the end anyway. So what does it matter if she and I are both safe? Like if you two are both on the wheel, then Billy's in the final two no matter what, because nobody's dragging her. So I'm either third place or I'm losing to Billy. So I would have said, put me and Billy on the wheel. Billy, I'm not going to drag you. Don't drag me out of respect. But like, let's do this. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Like that would have been like this weird play that I had if Josh had wanted to vote with Billy on that one. But once Natalie flipped and turned it onto me, I was like, this doesn't make any sense here. Like, I was like, why is this happening? This, like, we need to not like have this vote turned against me. We need to really, like we all need to do what's in our best interest here. Like none of us can win if we're sitting next to Billy at the end. Like Natalie, please, I'm begging. But it didn't work out that way. And I was telling the truth when I was talking during the episode that I wanted to win. I wanted to win so badly. And if I could go back in time and change anything to make it happen that I win, I would do it. But I'm thrilled for Billy. And if I had to sit next to anybody and lose, it would be Billy. 100%.
Okay.
She played a phenomenal game, and she's a good friend of mine, and I'm proud of her, and I'm so happy for her.
So, before we continue on, there was a question from Henry. He said, if you could change anything about your time with Sequester, what would it be?
I'll give you my joke answer first. I would have gone into another battle match so that I could tie Jake Brown's record. No, but my real answer is I would have tried to make that heel turn a little bit sooner. I would have tried to recognize like that my strategy of like beating my chest and yelling wasn't working. I would have tried to realize that sooner. That kind of sucked when I like went back and watched the tape, and I was, because I thought like in round 2 when I didn't go home, I was like, I did something right there. Like when I was threatening Rachel and Shireen, I must have done something right. When in fact I went home. Oh my gosh, look at those comments from Jake.
Yeah, I just saw it now. Right when you brought him up.
So no, I thought that what I had done might have been working. So I was like, great, let me keep on doing it. But meanwhile, I'm like, that worked. I somehow stayed in spite of me putting my foot in my mouth time and time again. So that's what I would have changed for sure.
Here, I'm gonna let Dylan in real quick. He just got
Definitely.
here. Sorry, Dylan.
Dylan, you're muted.
You're muted, Dylan.
Sorry, I was setting this thing up, but it's okay.
No, you're good.
I just got out of the shower because
Dylan, where's the where are the sunglasses?
Oh, I don't know where they're probably still up at school.
I was so excited. I was so excited for the sunglasses.
No, I have to wear that shit because I have this bright ass ring light like right in my face. So.
Dylan, do you have any questions for Spencer while we're here?
What have y'all talked about so far?
A little bit of everything.
a little bit of everything. But you know, ask a question. If I've answered it already, I'll tell you I've answered it, and then we can do like rapid fire or something like that.
Okay. I want to ask you about the whole Eric situation, because there was a person named Eric that I think he was the one that kind of started the cancel train for you before the season even began. Okay. So I wanted to ask you because when that happened, you stayed kind of silent. So I wanted to ask you what you thought when all of that was happening.
First off, I would just like to say I don't know who Eric is. I've never interacted with him before in my entire life. So seeing his, comments about me was very, it kind of like took me as a surprise because, I didn't know why some person who I had never met before was saying things like this or was doing things like this. But my reaction was, like in regards to the season, I was like, this is going to be a very like up and down season because of this. And I was looking at it in terms of like, I want to try to be respectful of, the people that have clearly been affected by the nature of these tweets. And I want to, do my best to show like growth through that. But I knew that, like the first half of the season was not, was not going to show that at all. But I knew that the back half of the season was going to be a little bit more refreshing when it came to that. And it was difficult because I wanted to let my game speak for myself. And I wanted to say like, I kind of just like kept my head down and took my lumps like during those first 5 episodes. Like I heard like, I saw the tweets about people like slamming me. I saw the, I listened to the podcast, the recaps about people slamming me in my game and, me, what my actual motives were. But then I hope that, whether people said it or not, I hope that their opinions on me may have changed a little bit as the season went on, when they saw me for me, who I actually am.
I will say this, because I was one of the people that was ripping you to shreds on here, but whenever I was talking about you on here, I always made sure that I was sticking to what I saw in the game. However, what I did appreciate about what you did was you weren't trying to like rush to explain anything, and you weren't like quote tweeting everybody like somebody else.
Yeah,
But
and I knew that I knew that I couldn't do that. I knew that
yeah,
that was not something it wasn't something I wanted to do. I didn't want to engage in that. Like you know, it was a rough like month and a half for me, and even
yeah,
a month leading up to the cast review, or a month leading up to the premiere from the cast review. Like it was a really like tough time for me, and I knew that I would only make it worse if I was engaging with people who were being very critical of me, and not that they shouldn't be being critical of me, but I knew that I couldn't just spend all my time and energy engaging with people who disagreed and people who were upset and angry, because I was just like, you know what, let's talk about this when the season's over.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I appreciate you saying that. Fuck, what else was I gonna ask you? Uh, so going into it, I kind of felt like maybe it was because I've just seen your name around the org community before, but I felt like you, Muna, Jacob, Katie, you guys were kind of like the bigger names that came into it. Was your like when you saw those people there, were you thinking, I want to work with those people, I want to keep those around and kind of get rid of the smaller names?
In a way, yeah. Like
Mhm.
I didn't view myself as a big name though. That's the one thing that I think that like you and I might have been seeing differently there.
Yeah.
Is I didn't view myself as a big name, because in the minis that I had played, because once I noticed that it was like this is all mini people. Like every single person here is somebody who's played in minis at one point or another. Even Jay West has played in a mini. Like everybody's a mini player. So I looked around and I was like, I didn't do well in these minis, like to the point where like I didn't do numerically well in these minis. So I really need to like try to figure out how I'm going to get further than like middle of the pack, because that's where I got cut every single time in the minis that I played.
Oh,
And because it was like 11th out of 22 and 12th out of 24, like literally the 50% mark at every single one.
oh,
So
really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
I thought that it was like all people that won that got put into the game. See,
no, no,
I
no.
like I played a Sequester mini with Isaiah, and then like I did one more after that, but I really didn't follow the minis all that much, so I didn't even know that half of this cast played. Like I thought Rachel hadn't done one, I'd done Natalie hadn't done one, so I don't know. I think that for me, when I was looking at you, I've seen your name around the org community before because like I'm not a Sequester person, I'm an ORG person. So
Mhm.
when I saw you, I'm like, oh, you're a bigger name in the org community. So I guess that's why I tied it to
Right,
that. But
right.
it's
Whereas,
interesting hearing you say now that you're not really a big
yeah,
name.
I only played in 2 Sequester minis, and I know some people on this cast played in upwards of 3, 4, 5. Some, I think Jacob won, Muna won. Jacob won twice,
Yeah.
although his second win wasn't shit. Um, he won twice. Muna won. Katie won. Katie actually won the first ever mini that I played in.
Yeah.
We were in that one together, and then I don't feel like anybody else on the cast won a
Yeah,
mini.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
some people were close runner ups, but yeah, there were only 3. So, but it wasn't that I viewed myself. It wasn't that I was like, okay, these people won. I was like, okay, Jacob Jones, like that's a Sequester household name.
Yeah.
Muna, Brent, Shireen, Jay West, Katie Hopkins, like all these people. I was like, wow, like I'm playing with a cast of. It felt like an all-star season, even
Mhm.
though it was a season of returning players. It felt like an all-star season to me. And I was like, I feel like the Sheehan or like the Amber of All Stars. I'm just like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I the one who's here? But so I felt like I needed to both work with the big names and also um keep the smaller, like the less recognizable names with me as well, because I know that like if I get to the end with these big names, people are going to like vote a little bit on reputation. They're
Mhm.
going to vote a little bit based off of what they already know. And if I'm sitting,
Unfortunately.
yeah, it was an unfortunate circumstance. If I vote against, if I sit at the end against Muna, just from the start, I'm like, I'm never going to be able to beat Muna at the end. Like I
Mhm.
never felt like I never felt confident in being able to beat her at the end. And same with like with Jacob, that was a similar idea. In And so I was just like, well, maybe I kind of need to sit next to some of these like lesser known people at the end.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately happened. We had 4 people at the end who, were not these big names coming into the game. And I thought that was really cool because, we had, especially for the viewers coming off the back of Big Brother 22, where we saw this majority alliance of pregame relationships steamroll to the end. We saw quite the opposite. We saw the least connected people in the house make their way to the end. And I thought that was...
I appreciated that. And I had said that on the podcast that I think the first episode, I was like, I don't really want to see, like, I liked Muna and I liked Jacob and I liked all those people, but I wanted to see the newer players get a chance to shine just because that's my kind of gig. Like, I'm the kind of person where when I go into an org, I hate the people that like have reputations or like are friends with each other. So, what was it? Oh, okay. The next thing I wanted to ask you was I wanted to kind of talk about that whole round where you dragged Muna into the battle match. I don't know if you guys went over that yet.
Well, I want to know your question specifically.
Yes. Okay. So one of the things that people were critical of you for, and was Muna your first drag or was she your second drag? Oh no, she was the first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you dragged Natalie and then dragged Shireen after that. So
yeah.
When you dragged Muna, I didn't think that was a wrong move. I didn't. And I said it on the show too. I just felt like it was the way you went about it, and it was the circumstance that like made it bad, And then the rounds after that, when you tried dragging Natalie, and then when you drag Shireen, one of the things that people were critical of you for was that they were thinking that you only were dragging women because you thought women would be weaker in these battle matches. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to know, were you thinking that in your mind? Were you like, what was your thought process when you were dragging those people?
We did talk about this a bit, but just to give like kind of the TLDR of it all, it's like there may have been something in the back of my mind about like maybe I could beat a female in a physical competition easier than I could beat a male in a physical competition. But the only thing that I was thinking of was like, who just voted for me? Who do I know has been working against me? And like the Muna move, like I knew that the Muna move was going to get me heat because people loved Muna so much. But at the end of the day, I was like, this game move makes sense. Right. But then the next round, I was like, this is going to be the worst part of it because the Natalie move doesn't make any sense. The thing that happened with Natalie was I was like, well, we only have 2 exposed votes. And it's like, because Rachel just got pulled in from Jacob. We only have 2 exposed votes. And it's either Shireen who voted for Rachel or Natalie who voted for Jacob, knowing that I was like tethered to Jacob. And I felt, a little bit boxed in with what I could do because I didn't view the other, the other 5 people? The other 5, I didn't view the other 5 as like working against me in the way that I felt Shireen was. And then Natalie voted against me and I didn't know who else had. So I didn't feel like what I was doing was something where it was like, hey, I'm going to pick a female because I feel like I can beat them in a battle match. It was, I am going to try to pick somebody who is going to like put, if I win this battle match, I'm going to be in a better spot when I come back into the house.
And you were right, because you were picking people that I think Natalie was a totally wrong decision.
Well,
Natalie, I don't know did you know that she was throwing Brendan's name out when that happened?
I did, but it didn't I didn't like that because in my mind, I was working with Brendan.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like it was this whole like weird it was like there was a blinding sheet in front of like 3 different people at the same time, and they don't know that other people are not working with each other, so they can't come together to say, hey, Brendan's a snake, he's doing this to everybody. So when I heard that Natalie had voted for me, I was like, well, she doesn't have the social capital to like help me progress further in the game. I thought she was aligned with me, like Natalie and I were close, like despite what the like cameras may show, like Natalie and I had a pretty decent relationship in the game. And like from round 1, like we were having good conversations with each other. Like I was like, if she doesn't have the social capital to like help me get forward in the game and she's voting for me here, like what good is she to me? And then, but she what she said made sense in her pitch. And she was like, look, you're talking about like taking out the people on the top. I'm not on the top. What good does it do you to take me out of the game? And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. it just kind of like took me a second to like snap me back to like reality, to realize like, yeah, this was not like my logic is sound, but it's not the best decision I could be making here.
Okay. I think really when it came to the backlash you received, it definitely was paired with the tweets that were revealed out before the season. And then I think once people started seeing, oh my gosh, you have POC woman, POC woman, POC woman going out back to back, it kind of was a little bit triggering just because number one, it happens on reality shows all the time. And number two, we just had to watch Big Brother 22 where all the shit they were doing to Bailey and Davon and all that stuff. So I think that's ultimately what it was. But when watching you back after those times and you kind of picked yourself up and you started fixing your relationships and people stopped voting for you, I kind of would like to hear what the others have to say, because I'm not really sure what the actual reason was why they stopped putting you in, whether it was because you were fixing the relationships or not, or because they didn't see you as a threat anymore. So I kind of wanted to know what your relationships were after you kind of like picked yourself up and stopped getting put in those matches.
Sure. So after when I got back on date night, I didn't feel like there was anybody in the game who wanted me out. And I didn't think that people were saying I can beat it. He's an easy win at the final two, because despite like there being some people in the jury who had less than positive feelings for me, jury's made up of 11 people. Like you can still like there's a lot of votes to be had in that jury. And I never felt like for 1 second that game, I never felt like a goat to drag to the end. And I don't think anybody ever viewed me as a goat that they could just beat at the end. Because like we didn't see any confessionals about that, right? Like if I was the goat, then I'm probably not coming within 2 votes of winning. I'm probably, people are probably dunking on me even more than they already were in their confessionals. But I felt like the turnaround happened when I felt like people began to understand where I was coming from. And I think like I was able to pull on people's heartstrings a little bit, to say like, hey, look, I came here to play the game just as much as you guys did. This means as much to me as it does to all of you. And I think people, I mean, it started with Muna. It really did start with Muna. Like that conversation that I had with her at date night where we saw eye to eye and we, connected on a game level. We connected on a personal level of just an understanding. And, that's really where that change started, because I started defending her and I think she was looking after me. And, having that kind of presence on your side does wonders for you.
It does help. Sometimes you got to work with the big dogs to get yourself out of the dog pound. And I just thought of that shit right now.
Yeah, exactly. And like there was no bigger dog than Muna in that house.
Yeah,
I mean, for real. Like anybody can say what they want to. Like you can have as many Twitter followers, you can be on as many reality shows as you want to, but Muna was the one to beat when we walked.
Was that shade?
No. That is not shade towards anybody else. That is, look how great Muna is. Like that is
okay.
Like it doesn't like when I walked into that house, I was like, Muna's the one to beat. Like she's going to be the one to beat. Like Shireen was on Survivor twice. That's sick. I can worry about that later. Like Muna is Muna and she is here to win and she's going to win if we don't do anything about like.
That's why I thought it was.
Yeah. No, it was no shade. I got nothing but love and respect for everybody.
I do want to ask you about that though. So there were a couple of people from your season that have been very outspoken about their stance kind of against you. And we talked, I think, I don't know if it was on the record or off the record, so I don't know if I should say it. But we heard on Twitter that some of the alumni are not good with you from your season. So could you talk a little bit more about that? Do you feel comfortable talking about that?
I would, say that everybody's entitled to their opinion on whoever they want to. If people are not okay with me, then, that's fine. I'm always open to having conversations, but people don't have to have a conversation with me if they don't feel like I've earned a conversation. I think that the season and everything that happened afterwards takes a toll on people emotionally. And there's still some raw emotions, still some hurt feelings, whether it was something that happened in the game or something that happened outside the game. I respect it, and at the end of the day, like, I got nothing but love for everybody.
Okay, I can take that.
Yeah.
If you were invited to All Stars, would you go?
That was a question I was going to ask. Yeah.
Oh, damn, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
1000%.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I would definitely do it. I think it would be a blast.
I'm curious to see if they put you and Jake Round on, because in my mind, you two are fighting for a spot. I could be wrong, but that's just the way I think, because both of you played a lot of battle matches. I mean, you made the final two, he didn't, but both of you played a lot of battle matches. So I feel like here, after kind of hearing what you have to say and the way you did respond to all of the controversy and whatever, and then the way the season did finish, I feel like she might bring you back. I'm not entirely sure because of the controversy, but that's just my thoughts. I don't want to like sugarcoat or anything, but that's just the way I'm kind of thinking about it.
Sure.
But I appreciate that you are able to acknowledge when you were wrong, because there's a lot of people that can't, Sequester people and Big Brother people. And I think that's why when I've gone on Twitter, I've seen more people being receptive to you as the seasons go on. I wanted to ask you one more thing before I have to go to class, because I'm already late for it, but I don't care.
I got one more question after two, and then we should be good.
There was a lot of hate for Muna in the comment section, and there was a lot of love for you. In my opinion, people were simping and they were standing because they low-key wanted to with you. But I wanted to ask you what your reaction was to all of that.
So as far as the love and the support for me goes, I appreciate it all, regardless of the intention, regardless of the reason why. In a season where I did get a lot of hate, I'll take all the love and support I can get. But at the same time, as long as it's not coming at the expense of anybody else, I saw the comments that were being made towards Muna and towards Rachel and towards Shireen and at times towards Billy about her loyalty. And I saw the tweets that were, in response to, in the replies, people from the Sequester community who were being critical of me, and the replies to those tweets, or they were being critical of me, or they were trying to uplift. Muna specifically was a big one. I saw some really like nasty replies, and it didn't sit well with me. And I had conversations with some of those people who were getting, we're getting harassed a little bit by these Twitter trolls. And I said, like, I'm so sorry that this is happening to you. Like, I don't condone this kind of behavior. Like, obviously, I wish this wasn't happening to you. Like, these are the same kind of people who they don't want to see Sequester succeed. Like, in the same way that some people are trying to tear down Audrey, trying to tear down Sequester and cancel Sequester. Like, these people have the same goal in mind. It's not uplift, it's tear down. And I don't like anybody getting torn down.
Okay.
I appreciated the answer. Sorry, I was signing.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Signing in my Zoom class. But I appreciated that answer.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you being here if you have to go now. But
I'm shocked that you're someone happy to see me here. But
I'm happy to see anybody. I listened to you guys a lot over this season, so it's good to have the face-to-face conversation. Stick up for myself a little bit.
That's the way I am, and I gave the same advice to Jacob. If anybody with a cartoon character or a celebrity or whatever, that's their profile picture, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Right.
My last question, and then we can just close everything out. So sitting in final two, run us through that. Like what was your mindset going into all that? Did you think you had were you shocked at the amount of votes you get that you didn't get? What?
I knew it was an uphill battle. Like from the start, I knew it was going to be an uphill battle. I knew that Billy was an absolute like monster to be sitting next to. Like nobody wanted to sit next to Billy, and so to be able to, first off, I want to say to be able to get 4 votes against Billy, like I'm gonna wear that as with honor, because I think that was really something that was a cool accomplishment. But I didn't know going into final two how many votes I was going to get. I wasn't trying to expect how many votes do I have. I was trying to expect how many votes do I need to win. How many votes do I have on lock? How many votes does Billy have on lock? You know, who are going to be the swing votes here? And you know, I kind of recognized that that Rachel, Shireen, and Muna were going to vote for Billy. I knew that those votes were probably not going to be up in the air. I knew that Josh was going to vote for Billy, and I felt like Natalie was also going to vote for Billy because of you know, what had just happened at the Final Four. I felt like Natalie, you know, wanted to justify her actions a little bit by casting her vote for Billy. So I looked at the remaining. There was only 6 votes left. I was like, I need to win every single one of those votes. And you know, only got 4 of them. Only got 4 out of those 6. So so that's what I was really going for. And you know, the biggest thing for me about that, what happened at that final 2, was I felt like a lot of people on the jury didn't come in there with as open minds as we could have seen. And what I mean by that is not based on who they voted for, because I'm not saying they were wrong to vote for me or they were closed-minded to not vote for me. I mean, it felt like they didn't want to learn anything. They didn't want to gain new information. They didn't want to have information change their mind. And we saw that from the top to bottom. We saw, you know, with like, you know, Rachel saying, you know, right from the bat that she was going to vote for Billy, and Shireen, you know, kind of lambasting me for the amount of times that I was voted out. But then we also saw it with Brent, who like grandstanded for me and basically said like how great of a person I was. And then, you know, Marcelo also saying like how proud of me he was. And I felt like as great as it was to be able to say like, hey, yeah, I got those votes, I wish that I had been able to have an opportunity through those jurors to win more votes. I felt like there was at times like Brent came up and asked Billy a question and she got to answer this question. Then he came to me and he made a speech. I'm like, I'm not winning any votes from that speech, from the speech that you're giving to the jury, Brent. Nobody's going to change their mind based on that. But if you ask me a question and I knock it out of the park, maybe I get a vote or two. So you could kind of see like the look on my face, like sink a little bit every time, like every time, like between Rachel and Brendan, like my face just like dropped every single time, because I was like, this is not getting better for me. This is getting worse for me. So that was what was going through my mind. Ultimately, like Billy and I were standing off to the side while the votes were being tallied. And I was like, you know, already, as much as I was like, I want to win, I was like, congratulations. Like, I'm guessing 9-2, maybe 8-3 at best. And she was like, no, it's going to be close. It's going to be 6-5. I was like, Billy, you can stop being humble now. I was like, you can stop being humble. Like, you got this in the bag. And so when they announced it, just like they did on the show, where they didn't announce what the vote count was. So they just said the winner of Sequester season 4 is, long pause, Billy Confetti Cannon. And so like that was, and so like we didn't know what the vote count was. And I figured that was because if it was 7-4, it's probably not me winning 7-4 against Billy. But yeah, it was a, like from start to finish, it felt like a movie. Like, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a heavy fog that rolled in during that final 2. Like, we're outside at a barn at night, like that. It felt like we got these like candelabras behind us. It's in like the fall, so it's like getting close to Halloween. It felt like spooky. It felt really spooky. Like we walk out of an abandoned barn to candles and fog and like bright lights shining on us. It was like, man, we're in a movie right now. Like, this is so cool. But yeah, start to finish, it was awesome. And watching it back, like maybe there's a couple things I could have said and they would have changed the minds of a couple of jurors. But at the end of the day, like, Billy's a great winner. And, you know, I got nothing but love for Billy.
Jacob had said that him, I think Brent, and then Brendan and Jay West were like the 4 that were kind of on the edge. And when I was watching it back, I was like counting votes and I was like, oh shit, he might win.
Yeah.
So there was a possibility. I don't know what you could have done to change those 2 votes.
So the Brendan and Jay West votes, I don't know. They both kind of surprised me a little bit because I think both of the I think either way they would have surprised me because they like Jay West was so far removed from like the regular aspect of the game that I was like he's basically like getting his information from other people at this point and what he sees during these eliminations. And then he asked like a little bit of he didn't ask the most creative question in the world. You know, he asked me like, what was my best social connection after he left the game? It was like, well, I played the final 12 on without you in the game. And like, I didn't get to where I was at the end of the day because of my social connections, but like, okay, sure. And so but then with Brendan, you know, it felt like he was trying to, like stick it to me a little bit with his final 2 question, where it was, you know, that kind of like, I want you to think about who you raised your hand for, and I want you to really let that sink in and take that to heart. And I was just like, damn, bro, like I only raised my hand for 2 people. What are you trying to say to me right now?
Apparently that wasn't original either, which I was disappointed by. Apparently he took that from people from minis. And after the clip, I saw like other people that have used that question too, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know anything about that. I can't comment on whether that was original or not. But there was a I don't know if I want to talk like this. Do we have time? Do we have time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got them on no audio. I'm not connected to computer audio.
Okay, cool. I want to take a second to talk about Pizzagate in the Sequester house. Pizzagate in the Sequester house. I have to clarify in the Sequester house because there's a different Pizzagate.
Oh, is this an exclusive?
Yeah, this. I don't know if anybody's ever talked about this yet.
Dun, dun,
Oh,
dun.
Silent Sequester podcast exclusive, everyone.
Being nothing but silent here. So on night 1, we got Little Caesars Pizza, and well, I guess night 0 really. Like this is, you know, the Friday that we moved in. We hadn't had a round yet. Like we're starting the game up on Saturday morning, so we're all like downstairs eating some pizza, and but we couldn't all eat together, right? Because the cameras weren't on. They didn't want us conversing like that, so we had to go eat up in our rooms. And I grabbed 2 slices of pizza, and I grabbed like 2 things of like cheesy bread, and I felt like that was a fair portion for me to grab. Right? Like that doesn't seem outrageous, but I poured some, you know, marinara sauce on top of the cheesy bread. People thought that I took extra pizza. People thought that I took like, I believe at one point the rumor got up to that I took 6 slices of pizza. So when you heard Brendan's confessional during the season of Spencer is the type of guy to go to a pizza party and take 10 slices, that was because of this.
So, okay, this makes sense to me.
So
this was night 0?
This was night 0.
This is why you had such a hard time throughout the first half of the game. That is hilarious to me.
Yep,
it's over some fucking pizza.
A rumor about pizza, and like I will go to my grave saying that I did not take any more pizza than I should have, which was 2 slices. I took some cheesy bread, but you know there was no policy on cheesy bread, so I felt okay with it. But yeah, no. There was another that, you know, what I'll say is like there was an additional question that Brendan had that wasn't shown during the final 2 because it was about the pizza gate, and you know it doesn't make any sense to show it because it didn't happen on camera. But he roasted me about this pizza gate situation. He questioned my morals as a man. He questioned the way I was raised. You know, it was like disheartening. So like after getting that question, then turning to like, who are the people whose votes you think you have? And I was like, shit, I'd be lucky for 1 vote if everybody thinks that I'm some kind of scumbag who doesn't let women eat and, you know, takes food out of other people's mouths. Like that's literally like what happened.
He is a New Yorker, isn't he?
Brendan? No, he's from Minnesota.
He's from Minnesota. I was gonna say New Yorkers, we don't fuck around with our pizza like that.
No, but I lived in New York for 9 years, so I don't mess around with pizza either. But I respect pizza enough to not take pizza from anybody else.
Mm-hmm. That's just hilarious to me, and that
Crazy.
makes
I don't know
that makes complete sense to me now. Why you were on the bottom from the beginning.
Yeah, and so it's this like weird pizza scandal that like everybody talked about, and I was just like, I literally was just like, I don't even know where this possibly came from. Like people are saying, like,
wow.
yeah, people are saying like I had 6 slices of pizza. I was like, bro, I can't eat 6 slices of pizza. Like,
Yeah.
And what's hilarious is that when we talked with Josh, he said that what made him dislike Marcelo, I think it was Josh, was he asked him like what cereal he liked or whatever. It was something about cereal. And it's like this just goes to show, and I love this whenever this is what I love about reality shows. And this is where you have to connect the dots with why people don't like each other. It's always in those interviews when you find out the reason why people didn't like each other. Like I remember in Heroes, Hustlers, and whatever the fuck they called that whack ass.
Healers.
Well, there was the mom squad on the Heroes tribe, and they edited them like they were best friends, Chrissy and Katrina. But then in the interview, Katrina was like, "Oh, me and Chrissy didn't fuck like that. She didn't like me because I gave her a dirty look on the boat, or she thought I did, or something." So that's just hilarious to me. And it's like, and see, if you're applying for season 5, or any of those shows, the littlest of things, that's what can get you fucked over in a game.
Don't take too much marinara sauce.
The thing that's the most different about like Sequester and the Sequester minis is that you are living with these people. Like it's not just like, okay, we're gonna be in a room and you can mute and whatever, and you can go to the bathroom and do a bathroom break and grab some food. Like you get really antsy. Like I'm a very like antsy person. Like I'm super energetic. I'm like really excited. I'm just like, oh, we're in the Sequester house. Like, let's go. And I know that I annoyed some people because of how like energetic I was. And like, I was, maybe saying something when I shouldn't have been saying something, but not like to somebody else, just like, mentioning something to like a production member who's there and they're like, no talking. I'm just like, oh shit, sorry. Like, but it's just like the fan in me being super excited. And one of the things that like, I wish like we had like more of was the like social relationships that I had built with other people in the game, because I feel like that wasn't a storyline. Like me being good socially was just not a storyline of the season. But I felt like I failed miserably in key moments, but I did really well socially with some people in the game. And like Jay West and I had a great relationship. Like he and I were roommates on night 1. He told me, he was like, you remind me of Dustin from season 3, and Dustin and I got along really well. Like he and I are super close. I had a great relationship with Katie. Of course, Katie goes out next. Brent and I had a good relationship, but like I had a really close relationship with Josh. I had a really close relationship with Natalie. Like I wish that like that had been shown a little bit more, just so people weren't thinking that I was just like some socially incapable person. Because like those relationships were there. Like from day 1, Josh and I were talking about like, we talked about like how we're both geography nerds. Like I know that's the weirdest sounding thing in the world, but we both love like world history and geography and stuff like that. And like Natalie and I had conversations early on in the game, and we would make each other laugh about like Josh, Natalie, like by the end of the game, like we all had like our own inside jokes with each other because of just like how long we had been in the game with each other. And it's like, you need to have that time where you can like laugh about things, because if you're not laughing about things, it's so stressful. Like you need some comedic relief.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you wrap this up, Isaiah.
No, you're good. You're good.
We've been rambling.
I do have one final question though.
Yeah,
all right, let's hear it.
Are the rumors true? Are you the 5th member of the Jonas Brothers? Is it true?
I'm actually the 4th member. The Jonas Brothers only 3. Jonas Brothers only 3 people.
Frankie forgot Bonus Jonas.
Yeah, well, he's not a member of the Jonas Brothers band,
okay.
So I'm the 4th member of the Jonas Brothers band. But I'm the 5th Jonas brother. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay. Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. This is Silent Sequester exclusive.
Spencer, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it, guys.
Jay, you've been here since the beginning as well, so thank you so much for coming over. Is there anything you want to plug before we head out?
You can follow my Twitter, my Instagram. It's Spencer_brief. Tweet some stuff about Sequester. I'll tweet some stuff about next season, whenever that happens. And I look forward to meeting some new people. And yeah, I mean, this is awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. Appreciate it a lot. Love the podcast this season, and it's been real.
No doubt. All right, everyone. There you go. There's our interview with Spencer. If you join us on Saturday, we will be talking to Natalie. So look out for that. We'll have some updates on Twitter, and we will continue our interviews with the Final Five. But until then, we will see you guys later. Have a good one.
Peace.